30 years old and a marketing director. I'd been on plenty of corporate assignments. But this one, a month in Madrid to help out a sister company, felt different. It wasn't just business. It was a chance to breathe, an escape. My flight touched down at Adolfo Suarez Madrid-Barajas Airport, a whirlwind of Spanish chatter and hurried footsteps. I scanned the arrivals, a bit overwhelmed, until I spotted my name on a small, handheld sign. The man holding it had a warm smile and eyes that crinkled at the corners. "Welcome to Madrid, William," he said, his voice a smooth baritone with a delightful Spanish lilt. "I'm Rodrigo." I extended my hand, a smile finally pulling at my lips. "Great to finally meet you, Rodrigo. Thanks for picking me up." Rodrigo, who I guessed was around my age, had this relaxed confidence about him. He led me to a waiting car, chatting easily about the weather and the notorious Madrid traffic. "So, you're our marketing guru from the States, eh? Ready to whip us into shape?" He teased, a playful glint in his eye. I chuckled. "Something like that. More like offering a fresh perspective, I hope, and learning a thing or two from you all." The drive into the city was a blur of terracotta rooftops and bustling streets. Rodrigo pointed out landmarks, offering snippets of history and local lore. I found myself laughing more than I had in weeks. His humor was infectious, his observations sharp and witty. As we pulled up to a charming boutique hotel, right in the heart of the city, Rodrigo turned to me. "Well, William, this is your home for the next month. Any questions, any needs, don't hesitate to call. My number's already programmed into your work phone. And tomorrow, we conquer the world of marketing together." He winked. I felt a flutter in my chest I couldn't quite explain. "Thanks, Rodrigo. Really, I appreciate everything." "De nada," he replied, the simple Spanish phrase feeling unexpectedly warm. "See you tomorrow, William. Rest up." As I unpacked, the hum of Madrid outside my window, I couldn't shake the image of Rodrigo's smile. This month, I realized, was going to be anything but ordinary. The next morning, I arrived at the office, a mix of nerves and anticipation. Rodrigo was already there, buzzing with energy, his desk a testament to organized chaos. "Buenos dias, William. Ready for your induction into the beautiful madness of our marketing department?" He greeted me with a wide grin, handing me a steaming cup of café con leche. The coffee was strong and sweet, just what I needed. I spent the morning meeting the team, a lively group who embraced me with open, friendly energy. Rodrigo, as their leader, was a master of efficiency, effortlessly juggling questions, delegating tasks, and cracking jokes that kept the atmosphere light. He made managing a team look easy. During a coffee break, Rodrigo leaned in, a mischievous twinkle in his eye. "So, what do you think of Madrid so far? Have you tried our famous bocadillo de calamares yet?" I laughed. "Not yet, but it's definitely on my list, and I'm really enjoying it. Everyone's been so welcoming." Good. We aim to please," Rodrigo said, his gaze lingering a moment longer than strictly necessary. "You know, after work, a few of us are heading to a local tapas bar. Care to join? It's a great way to experience the Real Madrid." I hesitated for a split second. Usually, I preferred quiet evenings after a long day. But something about Rodrigo's invitation, the genuine warmth in his eyes, made me say, "I'd love to. Thanks, Rodrigo." "Excellent. See you then, William," he said, turning back to his computer, but not before I caught a glimpse of a satisfied smile playing on his lips. The tapas bar was an explosion of noise and aroma. I found myself squeezed between Rodrigo and a boisterous colleague named Carmen. Plates of patatas bravas, jamon serrano, and tortilla española arriving in a steady stream. The conversation flowed as easily as the wine, a mix of Spanish and English, punctuated by laughter. Rodrigo, it turned out, was a natural storyteller. He recounted hilarious anecdotes about past marketing campaigns, his expressive hands punctuating every punchline. I was captivated, not just by the stories, but by the way his eyes sparkled when he laughed, the way a stray lock of dark hair would fall across his forehead. At one point, he caught my gaze, So, William, what's your go-to comfort food? After a long day of spreadsheets and campaigns, what do you crave? I considered it. Probably a good homemade pasta. Or really good sushi. Pasta, eh? Rodrigo mused, a thoughtful expression on his face. We'll have to find you a good Italian place while you're here. Though, a word of warning. Spaniards have very strong opinions about where to eat. It's a matter of national pride, you see. He grinned, then added, You know, you have a really nice laugh, William. It's genuine. I felt a blush creep up my neck. Thanks, Rodrigo. You do too. As the evening wound down, and colleagues started to disperse, I found myself walking with Rodrigo to the metro station. The Madrid night air was cool and pleasant. Thanks for inviting me tonight, Rodrigo, I said genuinely. I had a great time. My pleasure, William. It was good to see you relax a bit. You're always so focused at work. Important, of course, but it's also good to enjoy life, no? He said, his hand lightly brushing my arm as we navigated a crowded corner. The brief touch sent a shiver down my spine. Absolutely, I agreed, my voice a little softer than I intended. As we reached the metro entrance, Rodrigo looked at me, his smile a little less playful, a little more intense. Until tomorrow, William. Until tomorrow, Rodrigo. I watched him descend into the metro, a warmth spreading through me that had nothing to do with the Spanish wine. The following week, the marketing department was a flurry of activity, preparing for a major presentation. Rodrigo and I found ourselves working closely, often late into the evening. The initial formality between us had completely dissolved, replaced by an easy camaraderie, punctuated by shared glances and inside jokes. One afternoon, as we were brainstorming taglines, Rodrigo leaned back in his chair, stretching. My brain is officially fried. I need a coffee. You? Please? I sighed, rubbing my temples. He returned with 2 cups, setting one in front of me. Our fingers brushed as he did, and we both pulled back slightly, a flicker of something unreadable passing between us. So, Rodrigo began, clearing his throat. What do you think of this one? Experience Madrid, where every moment is a masterpiece. I took a sip of my coffee, trying to steady my pulse. It's good, but maybe a little generic? We need something that truly captures the duende of the city. Rodrigo's eyebrows shot up. Duende? Look at you, picking up Spanish words already. I'm impressed, William. He smiled, a slow, appreciative smile that made my stomach do a little flip. You're right, though. It needs more passion, like a good flamenco performance. We continued to work, the air between us charged with an unspoken awareness. I found myself observing Rodrigo more closely. The way his brow furrowed in concentration, the way his lips curved when he found a clever turn of phrase, the way his laugh filled the room. And I noticed he, too, was watching me, his gaze often lingering, a silent question in his eyes. One evening, after the rest of the team had left, we were the only 2 remaining. I was packing up my laptop when Rodrigo spoke, his voice lower than usual. You know, William, I've really enjoyed having you here. You bring a different energy to the team. A good energy. I turned, meeting Rodrigo's gaze. I've enjoyed working with you too, Rodrigo. A lot. The words felt inadequate to describe the growing connection I felt. There was a moment of silence, thick with unspoken thoughts. Rodrigo took a step closer, then seemed to catch himself, running a hand through his hair. Well, I should probably head out. Big day tomorrow. Right? I said, a little disappointed. See you in the morning. As Rodrigo walked away, I watched him go, a growing sense of longing taking root in my chest. The intensity of the work week had left me feeling a bit drained. When Rodrigo suggested a weekend trip to Toledo, a historic city just south of Madrid, I readily agreed. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, William. You can't come to Spain and not see Toledo. It's beautiful, full of history, and the marzipan is divine, he had urged, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. The train ride was filled with comfortable silence and shared views of the passing Spanish countryside. In Toledo, we wandered through narrow cobblestone streets, marveling at the ancient architecture and soaking in the rich history. Rodrigo was an engaging guide, his passion for his country evident in every explanation. As we sat at a small outdoor cafe, sipping coffee and enjoying the afternoon sun, Rodrigo turned to me, his expression more serious than usual. "So, William, tell me about your life back in the States. Do you have someone special waiting for you?" I felt a jolt. I took a breath, deciding to be honest. "No, Rodrigo, I don't. My last relationship ended a while ago. It was complicated." I didn't elaborate, but the sadness in my voice was clear. "What about you? Are you seeing anyone?" Rodrigo looked away, his gaze fixed on the bustling square. "No, not really. I've been so focused on work, on other things. It's hard to find the time or the right person, you know." He glanced back at me, a hint of vulnerability in his eyes. It can be lonely sometimes, even in a city as vibrant as Madrid. I felt a pang of empathy. "I understand that completely." I paused, then, emboldened by the intimacy of the moment, added, "It's something I've been feeling too, lately." A comfortable silence settled between us, a shared understanding passing between our gazes. It wasn't an outright confession, but it was a clear indication that both of us were open to something more, something beyond mere colleague friendship. The tension, once a playful spark, now held a deeper, more hopeful current. Back in Madrid, the remaining weeks of my assignment felt like they were simultaneously flying by and dragging on. The unspoken tension between Rodrigo and me had become a palpable presence, a delicate thread connecting us. We found ourselves gravitating towards each other during breaks, lingering after meetings, our conversations often straying from work to more personal topics. One afternoon, we were working on a complex spreadsheet, our heads bent close together over Rodrigo's computer. He reached across to point something out, his arm brushing mine. The contact was brief, but it sent a jolt through me. I glanced up, and his eyes, dark and intense, met mine. For a fraction of a second, the world seemed to hold its breath. I felt an almost irresistible urge to lean in, to close the small distance between us. But then, the office door swung open, and Carmen poked her head in. "Chicos, do you want to grab some lunch? I'm starving," she announced cheerfully, oblivious to the charged atmosphere she had just interrupted. Rodrigo pulled back, a slight flush on his cheeks. Yes, Carmen. Just finishing up here. We'll be right there." I felt a rush of frustration, mixed with a healthy dose of self-consciousness. Had Rodrigo felt it too? That undeniable pull? Or was I just imagining things? Later that day, Rodrigo approached my desk, a serious expression on his face. "William, can I talk to you for a moment? In private." My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it, the conversation we had been skirting around. I followed Rodrigo into an empty conference room, my palms sweating. He closed the door, then turned to face me, his gaze direct and unblinking. "William, I feel like there's something happening between us, and I don't want to misunderstand or misinterpret anything." He took a deep breath. Are you feeling it too?" My voice was a little shaky as I replied, "Yes, Rodrigo, I am, definitely." A wave of relief washed over Rodrigo's face, a small smile finally gracing his lips. "Good, because I really like you, William, more than just a colleague." The conference room felt suddenly smaller, the air crackling with unspoken emotions. My heart was pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Rodrigo's confession, so direct and vulnerable, had taken my breath away. "I like you too, Rodrigo," I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. "More than I expected to, coming here." A relieved smile spread across Rodrigo's face, making his eyes crinkle at the corners. He took a step closer, and I felt myself drawn in, unable to look away. "Good," he said, his voice husky, "because I haven't stopped thinking about you since you arrived. It's been a lot." I chuckled, a nervous, happy sound. "Tell me about it." Rodrigo's gaze dropped to my lips, and I felt a shiver of anticipation. The air was thick with unspoken desire, a culmination of weeks of lingering glances, shared laughter, and unspoken understandings. Rodrigo raised a hand, gently cupping my cheek, his thumb stroking softly. "May I, William?" he murmured, his eyes searching mine for permission. I didn't need to speak. I leaned in, closing the small distance between us. His lips met mine, soft at first, then growing more confident, more passionate. It was a kiss that had been building for weeks, a release of pent-up emotion and unspoken longing. It was warm, sweet, and utterly intoxicating. When we finally broke apart, breathless, my mind was reeling. Rodrigo's eyes, still close to mine, were shining. "Wow!" I whispered, a little dazed. Rodrigo smiled, a genuine, joyful smile that reached his eyes. "Yeah, wow. Que bonito." He pulled me into a hug, a warm, comforting embrace that made me feel utterly safe and completely cherished. "So, I guess this means you don't mind staying for a few more days after your assignment ends?" he asked, a hopeful note in his voice. I laughed, pulling back slightly but still within his embrace. I think I could be persuaded. The kiss in the conference room was the turning point. The remaining time of my assignment flew by in a blur of shared moments and growing intimacy. Our professional collaboration seamlessly intertwined with our blossoming romance. Lunch breaks became dates, evenings were spent exploring Madrid's hidden gems, and late-night calls became a cherished routine. We explored the grandeur of the royal palace, got lost in the labyrinthine streets of the La Latina neighborhood, and spent an entire afternoon people-watching in the Plaza Mayor, sharing stories and dreams. Rodrigo introduced me to his favorite tapas bars, the ones locals frequented, where the food was authentic and the atmosphere electric. I, in turn, shared stories of my life in the States, my aspirations, and even some of my own insecurities. There was a comfortable ease between us, a sense of belonging that I hadn't felt in a long time. We talked about everything and nothing, our conversations punctuated by laughter, tender glances, and the occasional hand squeeze under the table. One evening, as we walked hand in hand through Retiro Park, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and purple, Rodrigo turned to me, a thoughtful expression on his face. "You know, when I picked you up at the airport, I just thought you were another corporate guy. Professional, a bit serious. I had no idea you'd turn my world upside down, William." I squeezed Rodrigo's hand. "Believe me, the feeling is mutual. I came here expecting a month of work, and I found this." I gestured vaguely to our intertwined hands, to the beautiful park, to the city around us. "And I wouldn't change it for anything." But beneath the joy, a quiet tension began to build. My departure date loomed, a stark reminder of the temporary nature of our time together. Neither of us had directly addressed what would happen when the month was over, when I had to return to the States. It was the elephant in the room, a silent question mark hanging over our blossoming romance. The last week of my assignment was filled with a bittersweet mix of happiness and apprehension. Every shared meal, every late-night conversation, every touch felt more precious, tinged with the knowledge that our time was running out. One evening, as we were having dinner at a cozy little restaurant Rodrigo loved, the conversation naturally turned to my impending departure. "So," Rodrigo began, his voice a little strained, "your flight is next Friday?" I nodded, a knot forming in my stomach. "Yeah, early morning." A silence descended, heavy with unspoken anxieties. Rodrigo reached across the table, taking my hand in his. "William, I don't want you to go. Not like this. We've just started." My eyes welled up. "I don't want to go either, Rodrigo. This past month has been everything. More than I could have ever imagined." I squeezed his hand. "But I have my job, my life back in the States." "I know," Rodrigo said, his thumb stroking the back of my hand. "And I have mine here. But what if there's a way for us to make this work?" His gaze was intense, full of hope and a touch of desperation. I felt a surge of emotion. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we could visit each other often. The US isn't exactly next door, but it's not the end of the world either. We could make time. Or maybe Rodrigo continued, his voice softer. Maybe in a few months, if this is truly what we want, one of us could explore other options. Transferring, perhaps. It's a long shot, I know, but he trailed off, his eyes pleading. I looked at Rodrigo, truly seeing the depth of his feelings. It wasn't just a fleeting attraction. It was something real, something worth fighting for. Rodrigo, I said, my voice thick with emotion, I don't know what the future holds, but I want to try. I want to try and make this work with you, whatever that looks like. A genuine, relieved smile broke across Rodrigo's face. Thank you, William. Thank you. This isn't goodbye, then. It's just hasta pronto. I returned his smile, tears finally escaping and tracing paths down my cheeks. Hasta pronto, Rodrigo. The farewell was still going to be difficult, but now it held the promise of a future, a flicker of hope in the bittersweet goodbye. The departure day arrived, a gray Madrid morning mirroring the ache in my heart. Rodrigo was at the airport, his presence a comforting anchor in the sea of travelers. We held each other tight, a silent embrace that conveyed all the emotions words couldn't capture. I'll miss you, William, Rodrigo murmured into my hair, his voice thick with emotion. I'll miss you too, Rodrigo. More than you know, I replied, pulling back slightly to look into his eyes. Call me as soon as you get home, and text me when you're through security. Rodrigo managed a watery smile. Of course, and remember what we talked about. We'll make this work. This is just a temporary pause. I nodded, trying to be brave. I know, and I'm already looking forward to my next visit. As I walked towards security, I turned back one last time. Rodrigo was still there, standing by the departure gate, a lone figure in the bustling terminal, his eyes fixed on me. I raised a hand in a silent farewell, and he returned the gesture, a wave that held a promise. On the plane, as Madrid disappeared beneath the clouds, I pulled out my phone. The last photo I had taken was of Rodrigo and me, smiling brightly in Retiro Park. I looked at it, a warmth spreading through my chest, a stark contrast to the sadness of leaving. The past month had been an unexpected journey of self-discovery, a whirlwind of work, laughter, and a profound connection that had blossomed into something beautiful. I had come to Madrid a marketing director on assignment. I was leaving a man in love, with a future that, while uncertain, was filled with newfound hope. I closed my eyes, already planning my next trip back to Madrid, back to Rodrigo. The distance was daunting, the challenges real, but the love we had found was worth every effort. This wasn't the end of our story. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with promises whispered in Spanish, and a love that spanned across oceans.